Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well. Today we're going to be building an end-to-end stream processing pipeline using DynamoDB's CDC Streams. The architecture we're going to be aiming for is the one you see at the top over here. Looking at the diagram from left to right, we are going to start with a new DynamoDB table. We're going to enable streaming in this table so that every time you insert, delete, or update a row, a message gets written to AWS Kinesis, which is going to be our messaging bus where all the messages are written to. And then we're going to have a Lambda function, which is going to be our stream processor. The Lambda function is going to read the Kinesis stream in real time and then take different actions based on whether a new row has been added or updated or a row has been removed. To look at it from a more product perspective, these are some of the business cases I can think of. Of course, this is just an example you can think of and apply different things to your application depending on what does your application really do. So for instance, you can have a Lambda function or stream processor that in real time listens for any row that is being written to the table. And whenever a row is written or inserted, the stream processor is going to have the business logic where it goes ahead and sends a welcome email to your new customer. Similarly, if you delete a row, which means deleting a customer from the table, your stream processor or Lambda function can have business logic such as sending a farewell email or deleting all the account information or sensitive information of that user. Similarly again, if a row has been updated, you can have business logic in your Lambda function or stream processor where you either update the cache so that your customer does not have the old data anymore, or you can just go ahead and update a bunch of other account systems now that you know that the row has been updated in your main table. So these are some of the business cases I can think of. Of course, there are a lot of things you can do, but the main goal of the video is going to be to show you how to build this whole pipeline so that you can write any logic that you want. All right, so to give you a summary of the steps we're gonna do, firstly, we are gonna create the new table from scratch. We're gonna enable streams in this table so that every time you make a change, you write to a data stream in Kinesis. Then we're going to create our Lambda function, which is going to be our stream processor. We need to give our Lambda function certain permission and privilege so that it can actually read the data stream. Otherwise, your Lambda function won't be able to read any of the messages. Finally, we're going to customize our Lambda function so that it gets triggered every time there is a message in the data stream, and write the business logic to actually go ahead and do whatever we want to do. All right, so hopefully that was a good summary. Now let's actually go to the console and build the whole thing. At the end, we are going to come back to this and write our Python code, which is going to be our Lambda function. Okay, so the first step is going to be to create our new table. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create table. You name the table. I'm going to call it customer data. You give it a partition key. In our case, it's going to be customer ID. I have another video where I go through what DynamoDB is and how you can use it. So I'll recommend watching that first. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm going to link it in the description below. So yeah, that's all you need, customer ID, and I'm going to make it a number to make things easier, and then create table. So this is going to create our table for us. So you can see it's in the creating state right now. It takes like a few seconds to a minute to actually create the table. So we're gonna wait a few seconds while it's being created. And while this does its thing, I'm gonna go back to the architecture diagram. So we're at this stage right now where we're creating the table. And at the end, we wanna be right over here, okay? All right, so the table was created successfully. So let's go ahead and go into the table. Now we're in the next step where we enable stream in this table. So you go to exports and streams over here. You go to Amazon Kinesis data stream details and hit enable. You need to choose a stream. Currently we don't have any streams, so let's go ahead and create one. This is going to open a new tab where you need to give it a name. So our table is called customer data. So we're going to call the stream customer data CDC. We're going to keep it on demand. We're going to keep everything default. This is going to, again, take a few seconds to actually finish creating. You can look at a bunch of other details over here. One thing to note is the data retention period. By default, the stream is going to retain any data you publish to it for a day. This is tunable, so you can go ahead and increase retention so that you can persist your messages for way longer than 1 day. All right, so our data stream was created successfully. So over here, you can see the status is active. Now let's go back to our DynamoDB, and over here, let's hit refresh and then choose our stream, which we just created, called customer data CDC. And then you hit enable stream. All right, so you can see this is in enabling. It's going to take a few seconds, and then you're going to see, I think it's going to be called enabled or active. And yep, that's going to be, there you go. So it's active. So we have it running now. To go back to the diagram, now what we have is a new table, and we have built this connection where the table is going to write every insert, delete, or update to this Kinesis stream. We are going to take a look at what the data is going to look like once we go to the stream processor. So you'll get a chance to see how is an insert message different from an update, and how are those different to like remove or delete. All right, so let's go back to our steps over here. So we did the first one, we did the second one. Now we're going to go ahead and create our Lambda function. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do Lambda over here. So we're going to our Lambda dashboard. We're going to create a new function over here. We're going to call it, let's say, what do you want to call it? Let's just call it customer data stream processor. Okay. We're going to do Python 3.9 because we want to write our code in Python. I'm going to keep our permissions, the default ones, but we need to add a new permission so that your Lambda function can listen to the data pipeline, so the data stream. That's because unless you give this Lambda function the permission to read from Kinesis, it won't be able to read. So your messages are going to be written to Kinesis as much as you write or update your table. But the Lambda function is not going to process anything. So let's go ahead and create it. And then we can go ahead and give it the permission. Okay. So once again, it's going to take a few seconds to a minute to create it, but it's pretty quick. There you go. So we have our function created over here. Now let's go ahead and give it the permission to actually read from Kinesis. You're going to hit configuration. Go to permissions, and over here, the role name, you're going to expand it. This is going to open a new tab where all the permissions are. And then you're going to add permission, attach policies, and then you're going to search for, what is it called again? Kinesis. Okay. And we're going to give it the full access so that your Lambda can do whatever it wants with the Kinesis messages. But depending on your application, you want to give it either only read access or write access or whatever. So I'm going to hit, I'm going to check it and then attach policies. Policy has been attached and now you have full access. So I'm going to close this out. And now I'm going to refresh this Lambda function. Okay, so the permission bit is done. Now our Lambda function should be able to easily read from the stream. So you can see this is the permission. You can just read it here, but yeah, that's how it works. All right, so we did step 3 and 4. Now it's going to be step 5, which is going to be actually triggering the Lambda function whenever there is a Kinesis message. So going back to the diagram over here, you want to trigger this whenever there is a new message here so that the whole pipeline is real time. Okay, So it's very simple. This is your Lambda function. You go to the left and hit add trigger. And your trigger is gonna be Kinesis. So you do Kinesis. And then you choose the stream. In our case, it's gonna be our customer data CDC. So the stream we just created. I'm gonna keep everything just default. I'm not gonna change anything, and then add. Okay. So it says the function is now receiving events from the trigger. Okay. So every time there is a message, your function should receive it. Now let's go to the last bit, which is gonna be to actually process the message in Lambda. We are gonna be able to see the logs to see how it works. All right, so I'm gonna write the code in the editor, and then we're gonna copy paste our code over here. Okay, so let me just copy this bit, and then we're gonna move it over here. Okay. All right, so this is where we to do implement. So this is where we need our code. So the first thing we're gonna do is import another package called base64. By default, the message you get from Kinesis is going to be encoded, so you want to decode it using base64. All right, so the first thing is going to be, we're going to hit up add a print statement called lambda function invoked. Okay, we don't really need to return anything in this case, so we're going to remove that, or we can just keep that. Doesn't really matter. We'll just keep that below. Okay. So the record is gonna be by record means one message. So all the messages are gonna be in records within event. So event gets passed in by default. You don't have to do anything, but you wanna go into the records attribute because that's where all your messages is gonna be. If you're writing very slowly, it's gonna be like one message at a time. But if your database is super active and you keep on writing new data to it or updating or removing data, you are gonna potentially get a bunch of records at once. That's why we have a for loop going through the records. All right, so now the first thing is gonna be, we wanna decode it. So decoded data is gonna be base64.b64 decode, because the data is base64 encoded. Okay, so the data is in the records Kinesis and then data. Once you look at the whole payload, you are gonna see what I actually mean. With that being said, I can actually go ahead and print it out. That might be nice. So we can go ahead and print out the event. Do we wanna? Actually, I don't think it's worth doing that because we are gonna be printing out the decoded thing. So otherwise it's gonna get too messy. All right, so our decoded data is gonna be in the records Kinesis attribute because it is a Kinesis message, and then the data actually has the whole data. Okay. And then we are gonna actually, this is gonna decode the data and give you a string. You wanna make it into a dictionary. So we're gonna do json.loads. Okay. So this is gonna make sure you get a dictionary. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is, let's just print, here is a message. We're gonna print our decoded data. And then we're gonna go ahead and add all our logic. Okay, so the first thing is, if our decoded data, the event name is what's gonna tell you whether it's insert, update, or delete. So if it's an insert, we're gonna go ahead and, so the insert is gonna give you the new row. It doesn't have an old row, so it's only gonna give you the new row. Okay. And the new row is gonna be in the decoded data's DynamoDB, and then you have the new image because it's a new row. Okay. Once you look at the payload, it's gonna make more sense. But let's just write it, deploy the code, and then we can take a look at the payload itself. Okay. And then you can do whatever you want here, like send the welcome email or whatever. Okay. But what we're gonna do is just print a formatted string that is gonna say new customer joined, customer name is, and then we have our inserted data. So this is the row. very similar to how you read from a DynamoDB table normally. Name, and then the data type, which is string, so S. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out one level. There you go. All right, so that should be our insert statement done. And then we're gonna do if decoded data event name is, let's do the next one. I keep on doing that. Okay. Yeah, so we did insert. The next one we're gonna look at is update, which is gonna be called modify. And now the logic. So we have our old data. This is the data before it was updated, which is gonna be in decoded data, DynamoDB, and old image. Okay. And then we have our new data. This is after the update. It's gonna be decoded data, DynamoDB, and I think you have guessed it, new image. And then we can just do a formatted string where we say customer updated, old name was the old name over here, which is gonna be old data, and then name, and then a string. And then we can do, and the new name is same thing. We have new data, we have name, and then we have the data type, which is S. Okay. All right, and now the last bit, which is gonna be what if it's a delete message. So event name, delete is gonna be remove. And what is our deleted data gonna be? Of course, it is in decoded data again. That is not what we want. Decoded data. DynamoDB once again, and then you have your old image. The data has been deleted, so it's an old image, not new image. And then we can also print again saying customer removed, send farewell email to, it's gonna be deleted data, and then very similar syntax name, and then it's gonna be S. All right, so that should be it. So essentially what we're doing is, the first thing we're doing is decoding the data. And then we're looking at the decoded data. Event name is what's gonna tell me if it's new data, new row that has been inserted, or an existing row that has been updated, or an existing row that has been removed. Depending on that, our data is either gonna be called a new image, old image, or both. So for an insert, you only have new. For a remove, you only have old. And for an update, you get both old and new. All these are the data in the row that just got changed. For an insert, we are just printing out this string, which says new customer joined, and then the name. For a modify, we're saying customer updated, and then we're listing both the old name and the new name to show you how you have access to both the old data and the new data. For remove, we just have the old data, so we are just gonna go ahead and print it out. Okay, so that is all we're gonna be needing. So I'm gonna copy paste this whole thing into our Lambda code here. There you go. And then deploy it. Okay, this is gonna take a few seconds to deploy. And then while this is deploying, oh, there you go, it's updated. Now let's actually go ahead and for our Lambda function, let's go to monitor, I think. And then view logs. These are gonna show you all the print statements that you're getting. So right now we should not have any log. Yeah, we don't have any log because there has been no messages in that stream. So let's go to our table. And it's empty right now. Let's go ahead and insert a new customer. So we're gonna add customer ID 1. And then we're gonna give them a name attribute, which is gonna be, let's say, Bob. And then we're gonna create it. Okay, so now we have a new row. And what we would expect is the new row should write a message in Kinesis. And this message in Kinesis should trigger our Lambda function. The Lambda function should be able to tell that this is an insert message, and accordingly we should execute the if statement that has to do with insert. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this because we should start seeing logs now, unless something went wrong. Okay, so you see a stream over here. I'm gonna click it. And you see we have a bunch of errors. Let's see. Bytes object has no attribute read. Does it give me anything? There you go. So this is coming from this line over here. So let's see what happened to that line. So it's coming from JSON.load over here. Now what's happening over there? So decoded data is base64 dot b64 decode, and then oh right, we're not actually doing the decode. Oh, stupid me. So we have to actually do the decode over here, UTF-8. Okay, this should do it because we are did I even do it correctly? Let's make sure. So we have base64 dot b64 decode. We're passing it the message and then also decoding it to UTF-8. Yeah, this should be right. Okay, copy paste from here up to the end. We're gonna come back to the logs. So I'm gonna go to the code and then put it over here. So you see we have our new bit over here. I'm gonna hit deploy. And we're gonna give it a few seconds. I'm gonna see if it reprocesses the same message. Otherwise, we might need to add a new row. Okay. So I'm gonna go to monitor and go to view logs once again. We should get a new log stream for the new changes. We don't, so I don't think it got triggered. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a new row. So we're gonna add customer ID 2. And then we're gonna give a new name. We did Bob, so now let's do Alice. Okay. Create item. So now we have 2 rows. One is customer ID 1 and name Bob, and then customer ID 2 and name Alice. I'm gonna go and do a refresh here. Okay, there you go, perfect. So the recent timestamp is this, so this should be our new data. Now what? So we have some new errors. Let's see. So string object has no attribute read. JSON.load string object. Wait, oh, am I not doing it in the correct place? No, I am. Huh. Oh, it's not load, it's loads. There you go. Yep, it's been one of those days. All right, third time's the charm now. Copy paste, deploy, and we are gonna give it a few minutes. So let's insert a new row while we're waiting. Customer ID 3, and then we give it a name, which we're gonna give, let's say Bob, Alice, let's give like Trevor, let's just give Jerry. Okay. Create item. This should create our row over here, perfect. And now we are gonna go to monitor and then view logs. We should get a new stream. So we have 3. Let's go to the stream, and there you go. We have here is a message. This is the decoded message. So you have all these. So you see the event name. You see the event name, which is insert. And now, oh my God, let me just get the perfect zoom level. There you go. So we have a new customer joined. Customer name is Bob. Okay. So this was the first one that we actually got. Customer name is Bob. Now, if we go ahead and create, let's go ahead and update Bob. Okay. So update Bob is gonna be edit item. Let's call you Bob new v2. Okay, so now Bob new v2. Let's go to our logs, and then can I refresh this? Let's go down. There you go. So we have customer updated, old name was Bob, new name is Bob V2. Okay. And you see after Bob, we had new customer joined Alice, new customer joined Jerry. So all the messages are coming in. Let's go ahead and update another. So I'm gonna keep this side by side. So let's name Alice. Let's name her Alice V3. Okay, so yeah, we save it. It should go to the data stream, which should invoke the Lambda function. I'm gonna hit refresh. Go down. And you see we get here customer updated, old name was Alice, new name is Alice V3. So we saw create. Let's actually go ahead and create a new one just to show you again. We're gonna create a new item. We're gonna call it, let's say 5. We're gonna give it a string, name, Tom, create item. So we just created it. It should be very, very fast, right? Because we want it to be near real time. And oh my god. So yeah, we're gonna refresh once again. Yeah, the scrolling is kinda messed up. Yep, there you go. So new customer joined, customer name is Tom. So we saw insert messages and then we saw update. Now let's try delete. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete Bob new V2. Delete. All right, perfect. Now let's go and check the logs out. It's gonna take like a few milliseconds because we did not really configure the stream properly. New customer joined, we're still seeing that. There you go. So I'm gonna zoom in. So you have customer removed, send farewell email to Bob new V2. Okay. So going back to our diagram. That's not the diagram there. Oh, and actually you can see other things like how many times your function is being called and all those good stuff. All right, so we kind of have an idea now how the whole thing works. So we are being able to create, update, or delete rows in DynamoDB that is emitting a message to Kinesis. Our Lambda stream processor is being invoked, and then in real time, we can perform different business logic based on whether a new row has been added, updated, or deleted. Over here, I had just a few examples of things that you might consider on how to use this stream processor. I am gonna have a future video where I talk about more use cases, but just to understand the whole architecture, I hope this example is gonna be helpful to you. As you saw, a lot of it is through the AWS console. So the concept of Kafka, data streams, everything is abstracted away, but you can get a stream processing pipeline running very quickly. In this case, we did it with only one Lambda function, but you can imagine that we have like, multiple of these. All of them are listening to the stream, right? So yeah, you can have, the architecture can be whatever you want it to be. It gives you the flexibility. It isolates everything so that nothing is coupled to each other too tightly. And yeah, I'm gonna put the code in the description if you wanna see how I wrote the Lambda function. If you wanna do it yourself, you can literally copy paste the code as long as your table has the same schema that my one does. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm gonna have more videos about the stream processing, CDC streams, and all these. So please subscribe and like the video if you found it helpful. With that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.